Hey lovely freaks, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host Amanda.
And I'm Hannah.
And if you're new here, hi, welcome. If you like things strange and unusual and true crime, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button. You can also head down to the description box and you'll see a link that will take you to our link tree. That'll give you access to our social media like Twitter, Instagram, and all that jazz.
And all that jazz.
Yeah. Alright guys, we're back. It's a Saturday, so it's a little bit early. Well, it's not a Saturday for us. It'll be a Saturday when you guys hear this. Let me rephrase that.
Yes.
So we're posting a little early today, so you get like a kind of a twofer this week, I guess you could say, because we posted Monday and then Saturday. We're going out of town next week, so I won't have an episode for you guys next week. So that's why you're getting a twofer this week. What?
My dyslexia read that as Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know why. I guess because the J and the D. I was like, we're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer?
No. So we're just going to go ahead and dive on into this one. This one is pretty hard to hear, especially towards the end. And I'll give you guys a trigger warning before we get there, obviously. But if you saw the title, then you know what we're going to talk about. This is about Jennifer Daugherty. I can't ever... I want to say Daugherty, but that's not how you say it. It's
Daugherty? Like a daughter?
Daugherty. I believe that's how you say her last name. We're going to call her Jennifer through this, so just don't worry about the last name. But yeah, it's I always want to say Daugherty, and I know that's not right. But anywho, this case I had not really heard about. I think I kind of heard about it, but I didn't really know much about it until I started researching it, and then whoa, it's sad. And this has to deal with a woman, Jennifer, who is mentally... We'll talk about what's wrong with her. She's not... she doesn't have autism or anything like that, I don't believe, but she just has a mental delay.
Okay.
Well, we'll get into it. So, Jennifer was born November 8th, 1979. She lived with her mom and her stepfather. I think her mom's name was Denise and her stepfather's name was Bobby. They lived in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. Everyone who knew her said that she was loving and kind. Her mom said that she was warm and loving, and she made friends really easily. She was also very naive. Jennifer was 30 when this murder occurred. However, because of her mental disability, she had the mental capacity of a 14-year-old. So that just shows you, how her brain development, the length of time, So when she was 14, she probably had the mental capacity of a toddler. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though she's 30 in this story, keep in mind that this is basically a naive young teenager, because that's what her mind is. I mean, she's 14, and if anybody knows a 12, 13, and 14-year-old, they're very naive, and they trust people and, all this other stuff. So from an early age, though, her mother said that she had always wanted her independence. So once her mental state started getting on up there in age, she was like, I want my own apartment and my own place. I couldn't figure out if she actually had her own place. I don't think she did, but her parents did give her more independence by letting her ride the bus to her appointments, to her dentist appointments, doctor's appointments. They also would let her go shop for her own things. They took care of her finances, though, because that was one thing they were like, obviously she's not old enough to take care of her, like mentally she's not old enough to take care of her bills and stuff like that. So they would take care of that for her. Jennifer had recently told her parents that she made a group of friends. She would usually travel to Greensburg, which was like 10 miles from her house, by the bus. And like I said, this is where she would go to her counseling appointments and dentist appointments. She also met this group of friends at the community center. She met a woman named Peggy Miller at the community center and a few other people, and we'll get into those people as well. And on February 2010, she told her parents that she was going to stay the night at a friend's apartment. It was in Greensburg, and her doctor's appointment was the next day. So it was kind of convenient. She was like, I'm just going to go stay the night with this girl named Peggy that I met, and we're friends, and then I'll just go to my doctor's appointment the next morning. And her parents were a little hesitant at first. But they were like, okay. She left Peggy's contact information, so, you know, that way they could get a hold of her if they needed to. And so this was in February. I'm not sure of the exact date. It was probably like the 8th or the 9th or something like that. So then the next morning, she wrote a note on an envelope, and it said, I quote, I hope that you will have a good day at work, and I also love you very much. I will talk to you sometime later, end quote. She also leaves Peggy's contact info, like I said, and I think she tells them kind of where the apartment is, like, so just in case, you know, they need to find her or whatever. So on February 9th, her stepfather, Bobby, drove her to the bus station. She kissed him on the cheek and said goodbye. She got on the bus, and that would be the last time that anyone would see Jennifer alive. So the people that are involved in this, there's 6 different people that are involved in this murder.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to name off their names, but you will get more acquainted with them as we go on. There was Robert Lorraine Masters Jr., Ricky Smirnis, I don't even know how to say his last name, Melvin Knight, Amber Medinger, and Peggy Miller, and Angela Marnucci. I don't know how to say her last name. But those are the people. And
I'm guessing they're the people that she was invited to spend the night with, because you said Peggy.
Yeah, Peggy and Ricky. This was their apartment.
Uh-huh.
Robert was Peggy's boyfriend. And so we'll get into all the other people too. Okay. So these are all the people that were going to be at the apartment that night. However, Jennifer didn't really know that, because come to find out later on, Ricky, this all gets a little complicated, so stick with me. Ricky had been texting Jennifer and trying to get her to come spend the night. Ricky he was also like, had a criminal past. He was a convicted felon. He was convicted of sexual assault and armed robbery. He also wasn't a really good guy. Like, he had a shitty upbringing, basically. All these people did. But he started doing drugs when he was like 6 years old. Like, wow. Heroin and
my Lord.
So these aren't like great people that she's hanging out with. But keep in mind, she has the mindset of a 14-year-old, so she doesn't really know all this.
So her parents had never met them?
No, her parents had never met them. And I think that, that was one of the things that her parents said, is they wish they would have never given her independence, not necessarily given her independence, but let her go on her own, and they were regretted that.
She was, if you think about it, it would be like our parents with you and you're like 30. Yeah. But still, like, a mindset that would be hard to put that aside, seeing a physical form and a mental form. Yeah. And she and Jennifer really, really wanted her own independence. So now, of course, Ricky was not just playing Jennifer. And talking to her on the phone and all this, he was also in a relationship with a girl named Angela that we talked about. She was 17, only 17. And Jennifer actually knew Angela. They had talked a few times on the phone, and I think they also met at the community center. It's unclear whether Jennifer knew that they were dating or not. I'm pretty sure she didn't know that Angela and Ricky were dating, because she thought she was in a relationship with him. But he's just like basically taking advantage of this mentally ill. Before or after she spends the night with them?
Before. Okay. So he's basically taking advantage of this mentally ill, person, and or not mentally ill. What's the word I'm looking for? Mentally
disabled,
but
Yeah. No.
Jennifer.
Yeah,
Taking
Jennifer.
advantage of Jennifer in general.
Yeah.
It's still taking advantage of her.
Both of them, really, but fuck Angela, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So anyways, Angela is really jealous of Jennifer because she actually overhears a conversation that Ricky and Jennifer had on the phone where he talked about how much he loved her and he wanted to marry her. So now later on, we also find out that the person that had been so I told you that Ricky had been texting Jennifer and was like, hey, come over to the apartment, tell your parents you're coming to Peggy's, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So that was actually Angela that was texting her that. Yeah, she got Ricky's phone and she was texting. So that makes people think that it was like a premeditated,
like
maybe not murder, but
her
she was luring her in because she wanted to kick her ass. Like, she was pissed off because you're talking to my man,
I never get that. Like, if I find someone cheating, like, on me, I would be like, hey, did you know about this? And if they didn't know, I wouldn't be like, well, he's mine. I'd be like, okay, well, you want him? Because I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be on the guy's side or the girl's. I'd be like, kicking their ass, not
whoever
the
you were
other
dating.
person. Yeah, the other person I was dating.
So basically the plan, like I said, was to lure her there. It's unclear whether it was, I think it was just to kick her ass initially, but yeah. So when Jennifer gets to the bus station, Ricky is there and he picks her up. He also has Peggy, Robert, and Angela with him. They pick up Jennifer and then they're sitting there for a little bit and then they're waiting on their other friend, Amber and Melvin. Amber is actually pregnant. Yeah, I said pregnant. And I have to say, it's crazy that all six of these people had a troubled past. I think Melvin and Ricky met in prison. Melvin and his girlfriend that was pregnant, they met at a homeless shelter. So none of these people are in like a super stable situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying that everyone that lives like that has, will commit murder. I'm just saying that it's not a stable situation these people are living in. And it's also crazy to me that's just like we talked about, like the Chicago Ripper crew. Like, how do you find 6 people that are like, yeah, let's do this,
Yeah.
I don't think initially their plan was necessarily murder. Well, their plan initially wasn't even to do anything, I don't really know. I think it was Angela's because she was the one that was mad.
We're like, yeah, let's beat up this girl.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So Jennifer actually knew Amber, the one that was pregnant. She had met her at a doctor's appointment, and she instantly started talking to her, and she instantly told Amber, hey, so me and Ricky are like together, and we're gonna get married, and he loves me, and yada yada yada. So, which was crazy because like a little bit later on, Amber finds out like Angela and Ricky are together, and she's like, what the hell? So, whatever.
Do they know that she,
this is like a serious love triangle going on, basically. Okay.
But do they know that she's like, has this mental thing?
That I'm not sure of. I'm not completely sure. There was no information about whether or not they knew. I think Ricky did know that she was, mentally a 14-year-old or something like that, but I'm not sure if everybody else knew. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate because I don't really know. There was never information said whether they knew or not.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, okay. Sorry, we had to pause. So they eventually make it back to the apartment that Peggy and Rick share. There was kind of like a party going on at this house, and everyone, like, there was 6 people. I think there was one other person that was there as well. And they left, and then only the 6 people plus Jennifer are left when this all starts to happen. I'll go ahead and give you a trigger warning right here, but there's a lot of information, so if you want to skip it, you can, but I don't suggest it because the rest of this is pretty much talking about her murder, because this happened for 36 hours. She was there for 36 hours during all this. So all we know is what was told by the 6 people that were there. Keep that in mind, who are all now in prison. So we don't really know exactly, what happened. I think Angela, tells it like she's mad because Jennifer tries to, get her man. I don't know. I'll explain.
Can't.
So apparently, from what these people say, Jennifer tried to get intimate with Ricky and was trying to, kiss him or whatever. And Ricky turned down her advancements. Mm-hmm. And Angela finds out about this, and she gets really mad. So they start to bully her. First of all, if your boyfriend turns down her advancements, wouldn't you be like, oh, awesome, babe, and leave it at that? And be like, okay, she needs to leave because she tried to, get you, and I don't want her
here. Or be
here.
like, hey, don't you know that we're together? And she probably would have been like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know y'all were together.
Yeah, because they did say that she kept asking, during this, during all this that was going on, she kept saying, what have I done? I haven't done anything wrong. I don't know what I've done wrong. So she didn't know.
And they never were like, yeah, well, you cheated on me. She never was like, yeah, you cheated.
No. No.
What?
So, like I said, Angela gets really mad. So they start bullying her. They take her purse and they rifle through it. They take her money, her credit cards, her gift cards. Then they take mouthwash and toothpaste and put it all over her clothes and in her purse. They then start hitting her over the head with soda bottles, empty soda bottles, the plastic ones. And then Melvin Knight starts to get a little bit more physical with her. He grabs her by the shirt and slams her up against the wall and starts choking her. Angela confronts Jennifer about getting physical with Ricky, but Jennifer doesn't understand what's going on, and she keeps saying, I've done nothing wrong, Like I said, this just makes things worse because Angela's crazy. She and Amber take Jennifer to the bathroom and start beating her in the bathroom. Melvin comes into the bathroom and drags Jennifer into the living room. They get oatmeal and spices and pour them into they mix it with water and they start pouring it on her head.
Really weird.
Which starts burning her eyes. They shout at her and yell at her and saying she stinks and all this other stuff. They then force her to take a shower, and basically they force her to take sleeping pills, I think is what it is. Now, at some point in the night, it's not sleeping pills. What is it? It's that's later. They force her to take pills for bipolar and stuff like that. That's what it is. Yeah. Now, at some point that day or night, I'm not sure which one, the owner of the apartment comes, and he's actually the original owner. Peggy and Ricky are just living there. I guess it said that this was an apartment, but it kind of looked more like a house, to be honest. So I think he was the owner of this house, and then he was renting it to them as quote-unquote apartments because there was more than one person living there. Mm-hmm. So anyways, he comes by. During this time, they force Jennifer to go into the attic because they don't want the landlord to see her, obviously. And they're all outside. So Ricky and Melvin get into a fight with the landlord. The police get called. However, they don't know that Jennifer's there. They have no reason to go inside because this altercation is happening outside. So they don't go inside.
But what the coincidence? That's a big coincidence.
Yeah, it sucks so bad because this could have been completely avoided if the police would have known. It kind of reminds me of the Junko case, Yeah. So whatever the case, the police de-escalate the situation. Landlord leaves with the police. I guess he gets his shit or whatever that he needs, and then that's that. So Ricky and Melvin drag Jennifer down the stairs and force her to take her clothes off. They also get a pair of scissors and cut her hair down to where it's like the scalp. Melvin, they tell her because they do this so that way no one will want her now, is what they tell her. Melvin then takes her to the living room and brutally rapes her in front of his pregnant girlfriend, might I say. They then, after this, they force her to take a shit ton of sleeping pills. Then they all go to bed. So she's passed out, so she can't like run away, and she's taken a shit ton of sleeping pills, and so they go to bed. The next morning, when they get up, Angela, Ricky, and Melvin leave, and they go to the bank. They tell Peggy and her boyfriend Robert, "Hey, don't let her leave. If she starts to leave, like, kick her ass. She's not leaving, blah, 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 blah." This whole ordeal, like I said, lasted 36 hours. And these, like, were the last moments of her life. So, essentially, at this point, Peggy and Robert are holding her hostage. So, even if, like, they say later on that they didn't really have a part in the murder or the torture, they still were holding her hostage for them, and they could have just let her go.
Yeah.
Or they could have called the police. So they come back and the torture continues. They make her drink cooking oil, urine, detergent, nail polish. They paint her face with nail polish. They then tie her up with Christmas lights. They begin to beat her with vacuum hoses and crutches. Then Angela gets on top of her and starts beating her in the face. Jennifer at this point tries to fight back. She actually knees Angela in the stomach. So Angela gets pissed. And this is how manipulative this crazy psychotic bitch is. Angela runs to Ricky after she gets kicked in the stomach, and she starts going, "I'm pregnant and she just killed your baby."
Whoa.
Dead ass.
Straight psychopath.
Dead ass. So, whatever the case, Ricky believes her and goes to Jennifer and says, "You killed my baby, so now you're gonna die." Yeah.
God, you need to, like, get a grip.
These people are not very... I don't think these people are all there either.
Honestly.
I think all the drugs have just...
melted their brain.
Yeah. Now, Angela, oddly enough, which is really strange, Angela actually came from a really good family. Like a middle class, normal ass family. Yeah, it's weird.
Wow.
Like she didn't have any like background like all the rest of these people did. So
also,
I don't understand that.
I just looked up a picture of her and she looks so sweet and cute. And
Jennifer? Yeah.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
And it's just devastating.
So they beat her with a metal towel rack, like one of the ones off of the, like
hangs your towel.
That hangs your towel. You hang your towels on. They beat her in the head. They then force her to drink urine and feces, which is mixed with like spices and stuff.
That's gross.
They tell her to drink it. She won't, and they force it down her throat. They then force her to drink bleach and medication mixed together as well. They then hold what Ricky calls a family meeting. He has a lot of those through this while they're making their decisions on what they're going to do with her, but whatever. And they decide that they're going to kill her. Ricky made her write a suicide note. All this is so stupid once you figure out what they did with her body. Ricky makes her write a suicide note because he thought that would be the way that they wouldn't be able to get caught.
Even if she does, like, write the suicide note, at this
She's
point,
still been beaten.
You have been beaten.
Yeah.
There's been things done to you. Like,
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at how stupid they are. Because, like, that's what I was thinking when I was reading about this. And, I was like, well, even if you were to, like, put the body somewhere where it looked like they committed suicide, they wouldn't beat the shit out of themselves. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. There's not a lot of brain cells working here with these 6, like I said.
And also the parents have their address. They have one of the person's name
and number. They know where
you're going to get caught. The best thing you could have done was,
I guess they
not
didn't
have
know
done
that
in the first place, or at least try to convince her, like, hey, like, don't tell your family and, like, let her go or something. So you got mugged. They're just stupid at this point.
I think at one point Peggy suggested that or something like that. Like, we should just let her go, and then I don't know. I think Angela was like, no, we're not letting this bitch go. Of course. They take her into the bathroom. After they do all this, and they decide that they're going to kill her. They turn off all the lights. Ricky hands Melvin a knife from the kitchen, and he says, go in there and kill her. So he comes into the bathroom where she's kneeled down. All the lights are off. She doesn't know what's going on. And he starts stabbing her repeatedly in the back, the side, the neck. He then slits her throat. But this did not kill her immediately. She's on the floor gasping for air. And then he goes back to the group and he says, this bitch still won't die. So Ricky goes in and slits both of her wrists. And he's still pissed off because she won't die. Like, he's like, she's not dying. You know, she's bleeding to death slowly, but she's not dying. I
don't understand. So they're going to make it look like a suicide, but then he's going to stab her everywhere. Wow.
Yeah.
You're really stupid.
At this point, they're pissed off. Angela says, just somebody go in there and kill this dumb bitch. So they take Christmas lights that they had around her, and they begin to choke her with them until she dies. So on February 11th, 2010, Jennifer's body was discovered stuffed in a garbage can in the school parking lot. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they did with her body. They stuffed it in a garbage can in the school parking lot, thinking
that the police will think, oh, yeah, this is suicide.
Well, actually, I can go a little bit deeper in that. It wasn't just like in a school parking lot. It was shoved like under somebody's truck, like rolled up under somebody's truck. Like nobody was going to be like, oh, let me just run this the fuck over. Like, I don't get it. Like I said, the brain cells in this group were just not working very well.
They had none.
But I mean, it's a good thing because it's a good thing they were so stupid, because they might not have gotten caught, you know, and we know how that goes. You know, if they covered up their tracks really well, they may have never gotten caught. They could have thought she ran away, got abducted, whatever. So they did try to clean up some of the forensic evidence back at the apartment, like they were using bleach and stuff like that to clean up the blood, but whatever. Around the time that they found the body, they started to do an autopsy, and the police got calls. They started all this pretty quick, like same day. Like they got the body, they started doing the autopsy, they got her back there, they noticed all the things that were wrong with her body, obviously. And then they started getting calls where people were saying that they heard disturbing noises coming from this apartment last night. Why the people didn't call that night?
Literally could have called 911.
Whatever.
Had to figure it out.
Which was Ricky and Peggy's apartment. So, her family at this time they're wondering like where she is, but they don't know anything. So they call the apartment where Jennifer was supposed to be, and Peggy says that she doesn't know where she is and she's not here, and hangs up the phone. Ricky and Angela get picked up by the police at this time because of the whole apartment situation, and they know that that's Ricky's apartment, so the police go pick them up just to question them and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Ricky calls Peggy and tells her, like, get out of the house. The police have us. They're coming for you guys. Leave. So this all happens pretty quickly. This isn't the same day that they're, like, on top of this shit, which is great. That's awesome.
The police did a good job for once.
They did. They did in this one. So they all get taken into custody. And unlike most people where if it's going to be some people stick with their story. I don't know where she is, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. She was here, but she's gone. That. They all start ratting on each other.
Of course. Yeah,
of course they do.
I figured they would do that.
They all start ratting on each other, and
this is so, like, similar to the Junko case. Like, they ratted on each other as well.
Yeah, but they were ratting on each other for nothing because they didn't get offered anything. Like, they were just in the interrogation room, and they were like, well, I don't know who did. Well, yeah, she's dead, but I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, basically, that's what they were saying. Well, who the hell did do it?
I was just a witness, but they killed him.
Yeah.
They killed her. They killed her.
Yeah. So, but they weren't offered anything. So, that's how stupid they are.
They're very stupid.
but thank God for that, because otherwise, like I said, they might have never found her or found out who did it. So they get arrested. We'll just skip forward to the trial because that's, pretty much the next thing. Everything moves kind of quickly. So they go to trial. All have individual trials. Angela was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Melvin and Ricky, they were sentenced to death. Amber, the pregnant one, she pled guilty, and she was sentenced to 40 to 80 years. She also had her baby in prison. And she actually was one of the ones that came out with the story. She said that she gave like it was almost like giving a plea deal, but she didn't get a deal. But she said that she just needed to get it off her chest what happened. Like, she wanted to tell the story because somebody needed to know. She felt guilty, I guess is what you could say.
Yeah.
But whatever. You're in prison. So for probably the rest of your life. Robert pled guilty, and he was sentenced to 30 to 70 years. Peggy pled guilty, and she was sentenced to 35 to 74 years in prison. So yeah, Angela, I think she was trying to plead insanity at one point, but that didn't work. She's in prison for life, though. And like I said, Ricky and Melvin are still waiting on death row. So, yeah. That is the story of Jennifer Daugherty. Daugherty. I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry, Jennifer.
That's just sad.
But yeah, it's a sad story, and it always baffles me. Do you know what happened
to the parents? Like, what did the parents say or do? Or were they not mentioned?
I mean, yeah, they were just devastated that one of the things they said, like I said, was that they wish they would have never given her independence, basically. Like,
yeah.
They wish they would have just waited, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. Or, I don't know. That's a tough one, man. But
there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. I mean, even as adults, I mean, there's only so much. I mean, either one of us could get murdered tomorrow. I mean, it's not anybody's fault that there's psychopath, crazy people out there. So I just don't. I hope that her parents don't feel any sort of like guilt or anything like that. Because even if they wouldn't have given her independence, she might have rebelled and like ran away or something like that.
Anyway.
Yeah. Especially since she had the mindset of a 14-year-old. That sounds like something a 14-year-old do. Well, I'm going to run away. You won't let me go to my boyfriend's house or something. Although they didn't know that she was going there to her quote-unquote boyfriend's house.
That too. They didn't know that. Did they even know that she was in a relationship?
No. Mm. And like I said, he was basically playing her. I mean, they were in a relationship, but not like really in a relationship.
And these were all adults, like 30-year-olds?
I mean, no, they were all in their 20s.
But still.
I didn't get their actual ages, but Angela was 17 though. She was underage, and he was older.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, it's just
I can't believe she did all this just
because she was pissed off because you were trying to steal my man. That's basically what this was about. This was a love triangle gone wrong.
She literally could have just like beat her up and then been like, "Hey, get out of here, you bitch," and then left. But
just been like, "Hey, get out of my house," or "Hey, get out of this. Go home. You were on my man." Blah blah blah.
No, she didn't.
But no, she didn't. She went so far as to kill her, torture her, and kill her, which is so sad. Also, the fact that Jennifer probably thought her last moments were, my family's going to think that I committed suicide, because that's what she's thinking, because they're making her write this note.
Yeah.
And she's too naive to think, well, my body looks like this. They're going to know I was murdered.
Yeah.
Like we would be thinking that, but she wouldn't. She's basically a teenager that was trapped in a 30-year-old's body that was being tortured and beat, and it's fucked up. And I hope that they burn in hell. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hate cases like that too, like where it's somebody that has like a mental disability or their naivety, like, you know, in kids and stuff like that. Like those are the worst.
Yeah.
Because it's just something about being so naive.
It's like, you know, when you watch a horror movie and the dog dies and you're like, the dog, and you get pissed off.
Yeah.
You don't care about the other people.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah, the other people are dying, whatever. Don't touch
or
the dog.
even if it's a horror movie and like they kill a kid and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's
Kill the
just,
adults.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
It's just the lines that you just don't cross.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're not saying like, oh, it's okay to kill people. No.
No.
But just like, it's a line that you're like, really? Why would you do
there's
that?
There's a podcast, I can't think of what it's called right now. There's a podcast that I listen to where one of the hosts is like, oh, they killed the dog? Like, they're more like the dog is.
That would be me.
Yeah. Like, why would you do that?
Or every time they kill the cat, the serial killers, they always do. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. Why do you get to kill the cats? What did the cats ever do to you? But yeah. So anyways, that is the story of Jennifer. But we will end it right here, I guess you could say, because we don't have any more information for you guys. So hopefully you guys found this podcast informative. I won't say that you enjoyed it, because with murders, I don't ever say I hope you enjoyed it, because nobody enjoys that. But I hope you found it informative. You know, pay attention to your surroundings, especially if 6 people can come together and decide to do something like this to somebody. Same thing with the Junko case. I mean, how many guys was it there?
Oh, God, I don't know.
5. Well, actually, it was more than that, because
4
it was a
or
whole
5?
gang of people that were coming in and out.
Yeah, and it was about, God, I can't remember how many men, like 100 or something, that, like, of the gangsters that went and raped her.
So just stay alert, and you know, we always say pay attention to your surroundings. That's the biggest thing. But go ahead and comment, subscribe, like, follow, all that stuff. Don't forget, you can go to Spotify now, and if you're following us on Spotify, you can rate us. Also rate us on Apple iTunes. When you rate us, it helps us out, so we very much appreciate it. And yeah, we will see you guys not next week, but the next. So we're taking a break next week, going on vacation, but we'll see you guys the next week. Whatever, I don't know, dates. So anyways, we'll see you guys later. Bye.